I'm Serena Pia from thriftdiving.com. I've got Kwabena here, Ohene and Kojo, and today we're going to show you how to make an amazing, cute herb garden with just a few materials around your home. So stick with us because we're going to show you how to do this right now.
Let's get straight to it.
Well, let's get straight to it indeed, Kojo. For this project, you'll need a large wooden barrel or a similar large container to hold your potted herbs. You'll also need to select your favorite herb seeds, and if available, ready-to-plant herbs in containers are great options too. You'll also need some pots, shovels, gardening gloves, pebbles, soil, and plant food. And don't forget, download these step-by-step instructions for this herb garden from sciencefaircentral.com, or you can click the link in the description. And if you want to get colorful and crafty, you'll also need paint, stencils, and paintbrushes. Now it's time to start assigning important roles to each of your family members. So Kojo, who loves to draw, he was the landscape architect. Ohene loves to use his hands, as you can clearly see here. So he was the horticulturist to facilitate planting the herbs, and Kwabena was the supervisor to make sure the project was a success. Of course, I was the CEO. Next, determine the location of your herb garden. It has to get at least 6 hours of sunlight a day. Now, the kids and I found this old tree stump in our backyard and thought this would be perfect. It was an eyesore and we thought that it could use some prettying up. So Kojo took the measurements and found that it was about 25 inches in diameter in one direction and 20 inches in the other direction. So we went to the barrel, we measured it, and found that the bottom was exactly 20 inches. It was a perfect fit. Kojo also measured some of the pots that we had on hand to see how many we would be able to fit in the barrel. This is a great way to get your kids to do some math while having fun. Next, create a sketch of how you'd like to assemble your herb garden. Since Kojo was the landscape architect, he set out to draft the dimensions on paper and to start working on our design. We figured that if we put 13 inches of soil in the barrel, we would be able to sit the pots on top of the soil, but still be able to see some of the pots peeking out. Now it's time to pick your favorite herbs to plant. Ohene, the horticulturist, picked out our favorites because these were the names of the herbs that we would stencil on the wooden barrel. When using the alphabet stencil, be sure not to oversaturate the paintbrush when dabbing the paint onto the stencil, otherwise it will bleed under the stencil. Also, when moving on to the next letter, keep the stencil from smearing the previous lettering. We chose peppermint, basil, cilantro, and many more. Next, it's time to paint your pots. We chose to paint them with pops of color for the herb garden. Although we're only going to see the tops, we thought that it would be best to paint the entire terracotta pot, but leave the inside free of paint. This part can get very messy. Make sure you've got a lot of wet rags nearby for cleanup, and also set the pots in the sun or the breeze. This will help to dry them much more quickly. Once the pots are dry, begin planting your herbs by first covering the bottom of the pots with 1 to 2 inches of pebbles to increase drainage. If you are making your pots out of recycled materials, make sure that you poke a hole in the bottom. Now, depending on how many pots or containers you're using for your herb garden, be sure to estimate the amount of soil bags you'll need. With our 8 pots and the barrel, we needed about 2 to 3 bags. Add soil above the pebbles until the pot's about 3/4 of the way full. Next, remove the seeds from the packet and place the seeds in shallow holes in the soil. They will be very small. Then cover with a thin layer of soil. Gently tap on the bottom of the ready-to-plant herbs in the plastic to release it, and then use your hands to break up the soil and the roots. Place it in the pot and then gently press on the topsoil. Now it's time to put the wooden barrel into position and fill it with soil. It took about 2 bags to fill it just under the rim. We buried ours a little deeper, but you can always expose more of the colorful pots. Now you can do it later. It's that flexible. And we found that 7 pots around the rim looked best, with 1 in the middle for a total of 8. And once we got the pots into position, it was time to fill in all this area with some pebbles. It took about 2 bags of pebbles to completely fill in the spaces around the pots. I think the pebbles really finished the herb garden off nicely, don't you think? And the last steps are to add the plant food to each pot as directed by the instructions, and to water your herbs. Continue to check the herbs and water them regularly because the soil in a pot can dry out very quickly. So we are done with this project. This herb garden looks amazing. When the weather changes and it starts going from warm to cold, we can easily pick these up, take it inside for a year-long garden. If you enjoyed this project, download the instructions from Science Fair Central and go to homedepot.com for all the supplies and materials that you need for your next project. We'll see you next project.